So I'm in some random Starbucks in the middle of downtown Las Vegas typing this out for reasons that are beyond me. I guess if I die, I want at least someone to know what happened to me. You're probably getting the impression that I am scared for my life, but you would be completely wrong. In fact, I'm having the most fun I've ever had. This is by far the best game I've ever played. Now enough of my babbling. Let me indulge you why I hired a hitman on myself. So it all started about 4 weeks ago. I'm sitting in my office, bored as hell, staring blankly into my computer, counting each individual white pixel on my goddamn screen. As I'm staring off into space, enjoying the peace and quiet of my own little world, I start thinking to myself, how did I end up this way? My life has boiled down to me sitting in this fucking cubicle for 8 hours a day, eating and sleeping. I sure as hell didn't grow up thinking, boy, I'd sure like to spend the rest of my life filing accusations for some soul-draining corporation. I mean, I make good money, sure, but I don't even feel like a human anymore. It's like I'm just going through the motions. I have no kids, no girlfriend, no family that actually want anything to do with me. I'm completely alone. I need some adventure in my life again, some excitement. Fuck, anything is better than what I'm doing right now. I was snapped out of thinking how pathetic my life was by my annoying ass boss asking me if I had finished with this week's paperwork. I hadn't yet, but I lied to him and told him I did. He told me in his "I'm superior to you" tone to have it on his desk tomorrow morning. Yeah, I'll get it right on that, you self-centered prick. I finished up with the form I had been working on and turned off my computer. It was 5 p.m., signaling the end of another meaningless day. I got home and started thinking about what I could do to make life a bit more fun. I went through the usual ideas of a vacation, moving to a new city, maybe even a new car, yet they all fell short. I needed something fucking crazy to go down. I wanted to drop a bomb on my former life and really get shit started. I started fucking around on the deep web, looking at all the illegal shit that they have to offer. And then I saw an ad that said, have a problem in your life? Hire one of our cleaners to take care of it at Cthulhu's will. Now my interest was piqued. I checked out their website and it was a site to hire a hitman. Then a thought popped into my head. What if I hired a hitman on myself? It would be like a game of cat and mouse, and the punishment for getting caught would be, of course, death. I was curious to see what their guidelines were and to see how far they would go to eliminate a target, so I emailed them saying I had a problem I wanted to get rid of. Within 3 hours I got a response back, informing me of all the details of the business and the range of prices it would cost me. I didn't respond right away, allowing myself to think carefully of what I was getting myself into. The more I thought about it, the more excited I got. This was the ultimate adventure game, like a real-life video game. I would have someone that would spend night and day hunting me down, and I would have to spend all my time hunting them down. The first person to find the other wins, and the loser dies. It was perfect. So I went into the work the next day, knowing that it would be my last day there. I did what every cubicle monkey dreams of doing. I told my boss that he can go fuck himself, told the smoking hot receptionist that I wanted to bend her over the desk and fuck her brains out, and destroyed every last form and file I had in that shithole prison just to make things harder for all the douchebags I worked with. Then I got to work on setting everything up. I went out and bought myself some new toys at the local gun store. Bought myself a new 9mm Glock, a PS90 assault rifle, and my crown jewel, a Barrett 50 cal sniper rifle. I also stopped by this nifty little spy store in my city and picked up a few things. A few objects with discrete cameras in them that allowed me to watch them through my phone, bug detectors, and a voice changer. I then took $30,000 from my savings account and converted it into bitcoins. After all that was completed, I contacted the man who had first emailed me and gave him all my info, and told him that this man would be very hard to catch as he travels a lot, and that he may be armed. I told him that I didn't want just one of the regular cleaners on this job. I wanted the best they had to offer. Shortly after sending the email, I received a message back informing me that they would send one of the best, but it would cost a bit more. He also said that as soon as I sent the payment, they would get started. The last line in the email he sent me made me realize shit was going to get serious very quickly. Just a quick warning for you, once the payment is sent and confirmed, there is no going back. The job will be taken care of, and there was nothing that you can do to stop it. Perfect. I sent the payment immediately and got a confirmation email back that it was received and that someone would be sent out the next day to my location. Now the real fun began. So there's the start of the huge shit show I created for myself, and like I said, it's been loads of fun. I've been in this Starbucks for about 2 hours now and I need to get going as I can't stay in one location for too long. I'll update tomorrow with the rest of my story so far, if people are interested. Wish me luck. How's it going, guys? Still alive and whatnot? I need to clear some stuff up with you guys before I get into my story. First off, a lot of you have been doubting the fact that I got a 50 cal Barrett sniper rifle without a waiting period. The reason I was able to obtain it so easily was because the state I bought the gun in is very lenient state as far as gun policies. And on top of that, the owner of the store was my neighbor, and he knew I had wanted one for the longest time, as I have an interest in long range shooting. So all I had to do was get a simple background check and fill out a good amount of paperwork and it was mine. Secondly, a few of you are saying stuff like, "You're not going to last a week." If you had read even the first 2 paragraphs of my first entry, you wouldn't have known this had been going on for about 4 weeks now. I've had a few encounters with the man and I'm hoping to finish this up in the next few days. Anyways, let's continue. So I had just gotten confirmation that my payment was received and someone had to be sent out the next day. I started packing all the belongings in my apartment that I would need, as I wouldn't be able to return until after all this was completed. I packed a month's worth of clothes, all my electronics that I would need, all my guns and spy gear that I had bought myself, and a few other miscellaneous items like a toothbrush and shampoo. Once everything was packed up, I went over to a friend's house that had an older car for sale that was registered to his name. I asked him if I could trade him cars for reasons I couldn't get into. I gave him $2,000 just to keep my car in his backyard and look after it. I figured if this HITMAN agency was any good, they'd look up my DMV records and know what kind of car I was driving and my license plate, which would make me a lot easier to find. He agreed and told me to look after myself and to be careful. So I set out back to my old apartment that night to put all the things I had packed up into my trunk and back seat. I also set out a little note on my coffee table in the living room that said, "Tag, you're it," just to fuck with the guy and give him a little heads up that this wasn't going to be an average hit. What fun would it be if he didn't know that this was a fun little game? I now had everything I needed to go on to hunt, and a car that couldn't be traced back to me. Before the day ended, I went to the Walmart and picked myself a prepaid smartphone and then dismantled my old phone so I couldn't be tracked via GPS. Before I got too late, I also stopped by the little spy shop again and picked up a magnetic GPS locator. You know, the kind that Walt and Hank from Breaking Bad put under Gus Fring's car to follow him? After that, I was fully ready to do this. No turning back now. I went back to the area around my apartment around 11 p.m. and parked about 2/3 to 3/4 of a mile away to wait. No way I could stay the night there and allow that guy to get the drop on me while I was sleeping. I sat on the passenger side of the car to make it look like I was waiting for a friend to come back to the car and to not freak people out who lived out in front of the apartments I was in front of. They said they'd be sending him out the next day, so I had to be asleep in the car and wait for him to arrive. I went to sleep around midnight. I woke up around 7 a.m. I took my nice deer hunting binoculars and waited, and waited, and waited. I finally got hungry enough to convince myself that I needed to eat, so I went to a little fast food joint and picked up a few burgers. I went back and parked in the same spot I was before. It was around 5 p.m. at this time, and I figured this guy wasn't going to come during the day, so I fucked around on Reddit for a few hours until it got dark. I finally got bored on Reddit, so I went back to watching my apartment. Around 10 p.m. I watched an all-black car with dark tinted windows. I think it was a Chrysler 300. Pull up a few hundred feet from my apartment on the other side of the street. It looked a bit fishy on account that it had out-of-state plates and I'd never seen in my neighborhood before, so I started to watch it. It just sat there for about 10 minutes, presumably checking out my house. Then it drove away. Huh, that was weird, I thought to myself as I had the biggest grin on my face. I knew that was my guy. I tried to sleep that night, maybe got a few hours in around 1 o'clock, but I was so excited with anticipation I couldn't get a full night's rest. I woke up around 3:30 a.m. to check everything out, so I started fucking around on Reddit again to pass the time. Around 4 a.m., the same black car pulled up in the same spot it was before. Around 2 to 3 minutes of waiting there, the light shut off and a man got out. He was a bigger guy, around my height, but way bigger muscle-wise. Dude could definitely beat the shit out of me in close quarters combat, so I knew I couldn't let that happen. The guy was also dressed in a really nice suit. What a fucking stereotypical hitman, I thought to myself. I noticed I had the biggest grin on my face again. I felt so alive. The man walked across the street, sure enough, went up to my apartment. He took a key out of his pocket, put it in the lock and slammed on it with this metal small brick thing. I knew it was a bump key. He then entered my apartment and shut the door behind him. About 30 seconds after he did that, I used the binoculars to focus in on his license plate and wrote the number down. After about 5 minutes, he came out and put something in his pocket. I'm pretty sure it was his gun. He also had something else crumpled up in his other hand. He threw it in the gutter, got back in his car, and drove off. I waited about an hour, and I went to go see what he threw out. Sure enough, it was the "tag, you're it" note I left him. I started laughing hysterically and knew this was going to be a lot more fun than I could ever hope for. I went back to my car to try and catch a few more hours of sleep. When I awoke, the sun was already up. It was around 8 a.m. I drove off to another one of my buddy's house who worked for the DMV to get some info from him. He wasn't there, so I went to his work to find him. After about 15 minutes, when he was in between helping people, I walked up to his counter. He was surprised to see me and greeted me up with a "What's up, man?" I sat down without saying anything to him, slipped him the piece of paper with the license plate number on it. "What's this?" he asked. I just looked at him and said, "Don't ask questions. I need the info of the person who these plates belong to." "Dude, I can't give you that information to you. I could get in a lot of trouble." I pulled out about $200 from my wallet and slipped it to him and said, "Please, dude, this is really important. This guy wants to kill me, and I need this information. My life depends on it. Here's $200. I know you and your wife have been hurting for money." He looked at me with a really serious look and muttered under his breath, "Fuck, man." He took the money and put it into his pocket and started typing on his computer. He then got up from his chair and told me he'd be right back. About a minute later, he came back with a few sheets of paper. "This is everything I can get on the guy." I looked at him again with a really serious face and said, "Don't mention this to anyone, even your wife. This guy is really dangerous and I don't need you getting involved. Make sure no one can trace back the fact that you looked up this information." He looked back at me and said, "Okay." As I was getting up to leave, he just said, "Take care of yourself, man, and be careful." I told him that I would, and I couldn't thank him enough. I walked back to my car, studying the piece of paper, and once again had a huge grin on my face. I now had a bunch of this guy's info in my hands. I knew who I was dealing with. I'm not disclosing the man's name due to concerns for myself and his family, so we'll just refer to him as Mike. Mike was 35 years old. I was registered to an address in Arizona. Like I thought, it was a black Chrysler 300. Now that I had the info I needed, it was time to stake out my house a bit more. When I got back, it was around 1 p.m. and I parked a bit further away this time. I sat in my car for about another hour, and when 2 p.m. rolled around, I saw the black 300 roll up about 2 blocks away from my place again. Further away than last time, but close enough to watch the place thoroughly. I was only about a mile away from him and he didn't even know it. So the Burger King I'm in is pretty much dead now, and I've been here for quite a while. I need to get back to my hotel and start planning some stuff. I'll try to post tomorrow when I get a bit of free time around 5 or 6 p.m. Until next time.